Up, late, yeah, up, stay.
What's good, YouTube family? Welcome back to another video. Today guys, we're going to be teaching you guys how to drive a manual transmission. As you guys know, I drive a manual Subaru BRZ. I've been driving this car for about 4 years now. Now the reason why I'm making this video is because my younger brother is actually buying a manual transmission, his first manual transmission, next month. And I figured I can make this video to help him out and get into that sense of learning how to drive a manual transmission. And if you're one of those people out there that don't know how to drive manual and are considering it simply because you want to experience what it is and you like the concept of having full control over your car and what exactly your car does and when to do it, and only for that reason, only for yourself. Because if you're doing this for somebody else, or you're doing this because you think you're gonna get girls or because you're gonna impress your homies, don't do it for any of those reasons. Only do it because it's something that you want to learn and it's something that you want to do for yourself. When I did this, I wanted to learn because I was interested in the car community. I was interested in the car culture. Guys, we're gonna jump straight into the video. We're gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm gonna give you guys the first beginner tips to learn how to drive a manual car. So we're gonna be breaking down the basics: how to feel the bite of the clutch, how to get into first gear, how to shift into second gear and into other gears from there on. So we're really learning the basics. We're not going to be talking about starting on a hill. We're not going to be talking about rev matching when you downshift or anything like that. This is just a basic how to get started and how to go. Now the first step, obviously you're going to need to find a manual car, whether it's a new manual car that you buy, whether you're borrowing a buddy's, or whether you're borrowing somebody's car or whatever. Obviously you need a manual car, obviously, first step. Second step is finding an empty parking lot like where we are right now. This is actually the exact place where I learned how to drive manual. You want to make sure that it's flat and that there are some areas where there's a little bit of a hill so that you can learn also how to take hills and practice on hills. Most important, make sure it's level so that you're not rolling back and you don't have that fear straight from the beginning. Whether it's an empty parking lot, empty road, you know, abandoned mental institution, whatever it is, as long as you find a nice flat road, you're good to go. Step 3 is going to be to get comfortable. So obviously you want to get comfortable in your car. You want to make sure that your hands are close enough to the steering. You want to make sure that you feel comfortable touching the shift knob. Make sure you feel comfortable putting the gears in. Most shifters are going to be labeled first, second, third, fourth, fifth, some sixth. When you're looking at a manual transmission, you're also going to have an extra pedal if you're coming over from an automatic car. You're going to have your gas, you're going to have your brake, and then you're going to have your clutch. And there will also be a dead pedal, which is something you want to get used to, resting your foot on and not the clutch so you don't burn your clutch out. So get comfortable, fix your chair, fix your seat, fix your mirrors, and make sure that there's nobody around you that you can hurt. Make sure there's no curbs around you that you can by mistakenly run into, or any poles like that. Just stuff you don't want to break into. We're going to move on to the next step, obviously, and that's going to be to learn the catch point. Now when you're learning the catch point, a couple things you want to keep in mind. So obviously you want to make sure that you're able to push the clutch all the way down to the floor. You feel that you won't be able to push it any further in, that means you've reached the end of the clutch. To be flat on a surface, and now the easiest way to do it is to start releasing the clutch while it's in first gear. The car, obviously the car's got to be in first gear. You're gonna push the clutch all the way in, put it into first gear. Now most cars should be able to start off without you having to give it any gas if you're on a flat level or on a decline hill. The way you do this is you start releasing the clutch very slowly with first gear in. You start releasing the clutch. What will happen is this: you'll see the RPMs dip for a little bit. You'll also hear it if you have an exhaust. And once it catches, the RPMs drop like for a split second and they jump back up. That means you're in first gear and you can release the rest of the clutch and get your foot off the clutch because you're now in first gear. You don't have to push the clutch in anymore. I'm gonna put it into first gear. It's in first. Take my foot off. Start releasing the clutch. And we're off. As you can see, we're rolling. It's in first gear. My foot didn't touch the gas. Now that we learn how to learn the catching point, so you've learned where the catch point is and you got comfortable with it, what I recommend is you guys try it 5 to 10 times until you feel comfortable letting the car catch itself without you having to give it gas. Now that you have that underneath your belt, we can move on to the next step, and that's actually giving it some gas and actually getting the car to go on first gear. So once you learn where the catch point is and you're in first gear, the next step is pretty simple. You just have to give it a little bit of gas. As you're getting close to the catch point, what was taught to me was to try to get the RPMs from 1,000 to 1,500 in that range, and once you feel the car start to move, that's where you want to release the rest of the clutch, and now the car is moving, you're in first gear, you can give it gas. So let's practice going into first gear. So now we're gonna just be tapping the gas a little bit, feathering it while there we go. And now we're in first gear, we can step on the gas and we're gonna come to a stop, clutch in, take it out of first, and stop. Clutch in, first gear in, feather the gas about 1,000 RPMs, and release the clutch. There you go. We're gonna move on to the next step, which is shifting into second gear. So when you're gonna shift into second gear, it's pretty simple. You're pulling straight down on the shifter. The springs in the shifter should maintain you in that same gear position so that you can just pull right back down to second gear and not have to let the shifter go back into neutral. You can just shift straight into second gear. I recommend shifting into second gear to be done around 3,000 to 3,500 when you're learning in the beginning. And it's really simple. When you're shifting into second gear, most cars, you don't really have to give it a lot of gas. All you really have to do is be smooth with releasing the clutch. In first gear, you're shifting to second gear. So what do? Push the clutch all the way down to the floor. Make sure that you're touching the floor. Grab your shifter, throw it into second gear. Now it's in second gear, so you have to release the clutch nice and smooth at a nice fast pace. You don't want to be too slow with it, and you don't want to be like just throwing your foot right off of it. Do it at this pace, like that. That's the pace that I do it at around 3,000 to 3,500, and the car is smooth. It's like you're driving an automatic, and people will compliment you. They'll be like, damn, I barely realized we're driving a manual because you're so damn smooth with that clutch, boy. Yeah. Just be real smooth with it, man, and it's pretty much going to be the same every time you want to move to the next gear. Usually around 3,000 to 3,500 depending on what your goal is. It's gonna be the same steps. Push the clutch all the way down to the floor, shift into the next gear, and then be smooth with the clutch, release the clutch. You barely have to give it any gas. You can rest your foot on the gas pedal, but you don't really have to give it gas. It's in this next gear, you can step on the gas and go and do whatever you have to do from there on. Now guys, that's gonna be it for the video. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to drop them in the comment section. I try to do my best at explaining this, and I hope my little brother and that all you people out there learning how to drive manual take these tips into consideration, and I hope this video helps you out. If it did, remember to smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and as always, savage responsibly in whatever it is that you guys do. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. Now, my guy, we gotta get a lot of footage of us doing other things, and I just kicked my camera. Why am I talking like this? I do not know.